All right, now we're joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Pepsi Max Chevrolet. Here at Phoenix International Raceway, obviously a good track for you, but I think we would miss an opportunity if we didn't start off by talking about the video that Pepsi released and that drive that you had there on the video.
Yeah, it's been a fun week, you know, coming off of the Daytona 500 finish, and then knowing that Pepsi was going to be releasing this video. So, you know, I'm just I'm so proud of them for believing in us and taking risks to step outside the boundaries and what they call maxing it out, and they did. It was a lot of fun, but it was nerve-wracking because we had one take to do that and pull it off, and there was a lot involved, but the results obviously are really, really good. So having fun with it this week, and can't wait to get this race started this week, especially qualifying today. I've been looking forward to that for a long time.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions for Jeff. We'll start with Reed and then go to Jeff.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. 3 questions, all about the video. When did you go to acting school? Did you have fun playing the convict? And were you worried at all that guy was going to get really berserk back there because he started kicking the back of the seat and stuff like that?
So, you know, that's why I like good editing, because they can make me look as good as I could look. No, you know, the acting was pretty poor if you look at it from my standpoint, but when you get into makeup like that and they you know, put this disguise on you and the tattoo and the outfit and everything, you know, you start to get comfortable in it once you're in it, you know, long enough. And so, you know, right before I picked up Travis, we basically went through one you know, run of you know, how everything's going to go. Hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of things you could prepare for, and you know, you start to try to get into that character. And I'm no actor, but I did the best I could, and luckily the disguise helped me, you know, pull it off. But there was you gotta understand, this thing was like 8 months in the making. You know, after the first test drive was so popular, then Pepsi Max came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this again?" And I said, "Yeah, but you know, I want to do, you know, all the driving." I mean, I think it's known that we had to have a stunt driver for timing purposes in the first one, and that you know, I would love to do this thing as the driver throughout the whole thing. And so obviously coordinating that and figuring out who we were going to get in the car and how we were going to do it, it really started off as a fan promotion. We were just going to get fans in the car and you know, not necessarily prank them in this case, but just give them a really cool ride. And it started materializing, come together. But safety was the first thing on the list of concerns, making sure that you know, we did this with all safety precautions. You know, that making sure that he didn't recognize who I was, and we went through Jalopnik, you know, to get Travis there, which you know, if they hadn't have been a part of it, this thing would have never happened. So when I look at it, how you pull this off is almost near impossible, and the fact that we were able to pull it off, and at the end of the day, Travis had a big smile on his face finally, was what made it so extraordinary. It was an adrenaline rush for me. I mean, an hour later, I felt like I just won the Daytona 500. It's just that kind of a feeling that you get when you're in that kind of a situation. But we had a safe word, which was Nebraska. I don't know. I didn't come up with it. They said, "Here's the word." You know, and I had a piece of an earpiece where I could hear the crew talking. They could hear us and see video live what was going on inside the car. And so there was that moment where if it got to that point, we called that word and it all stopped. And when I first took off and I hit about 80 miles per hour and he started kicking that glass, I came this close. I came that close because you don't know what that situation is going to be like until you have that person in the back of your car that is really scared. And so I just knew that it's all going to be over very quick. And luckily, when I opened that door and saw that smile on his face, it made it all worth it.
All right, let's go to Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. I'm wondering about how you think qualifying will unfold today. I mean, what is going to be the successful strategy to get through it and get through the different rounds? I mean, are we going to see people do multiple laps here, or how do you think it'll shake out?
That's the whole question, and I don't really have an answer for it because we have to go through it, a few times, not just today. It's going to change week to week based on the grip level, the tires, the size of the track, all those things. But I'm excited about the concept, and I'm excited about how it is going to be so much different, and I think it's going to create a lot more interest in qualifying. But it's the unknowns that we fear the most right now. I think for that first session, it's going to be about getting a clean lap, because the ability to have a lot of cars out there trying to make laps, it's kind of going to be like practice making qualifying runs, except for everybody's in qualifying trim. Usually we swap over, and guys maybe do their qualifying runs at the beginning, some do it at the end. To have everybody trying to do it all at once is going to be tricky. So coordination between the spotter and the driver and the crew of making that first clean run. I think really 2 or 3 laps seems to be best here with sticker tires and pressures up. But you're definitely going to be able to make a second run if need be. The bigger challenge there comes with cooling. We have no way of cooling the car other than pulling the tape off and going out and driving around with no tape on, which I think that is going to be tough to pull off. So that's going to be something that we're all going to try to figure out, but it should be exciting.
All right, we're going to go to Tom Jensen and then Bob Pockris.
Hi, Jeff. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. With a new aero package, do you guys know what you have relative to each other? Do any of the teams? Is it going to be kind of wide open with these new ride height thing?
You mean in comparison to one another from a manufacturer standpoint, or are you talking about just
your team standpoint? You guys know you haven't run this system, this setup against each other. So
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is what testing that we've done. It just has improved. Improved grip. There's challenges as far as trying to figure out the travels and the splitter heights and those types of things. But everything I'm seeing, it complements the car, the track, the tire, the downforce is just making the cars drive better. So we should be able to just push the limits a little bit harder, be more aggressive. What that's going to do around in traffic, that's yet to be seen. But I always think of this place, especially double file restarts. You should have more grip to be able to play with in general, but the same things are going to apply. You get further back in the field, you're going to have less grip, from an aero standpoint, but should still be better because that splitter is lower. You don't get as much ability of the air to get up underneath it.
Thank you.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
For Sporting News, I'll admit when I first saw the video, I thought no way was it real, because I didn't think neither you nor Pepsi would want that kind of liability. So, there's all sorts of things that could have happened from that. Were you concerned? And
yes.
How many lawyers had to approve that, and how did it get done?
And that's why this was an 8-month process, and why I applaud Pepsi so much in stepping outside those boundaries to be that risky. Sometimes you have to take risks in order for it to pay off, and luckily in this case it paid off. But the coordination of getting Travis there without knowing what was going to happen, but yet also take into account liability and waivers and all those things. Obviously we still had to get his final signature at the end, but we had everything else in place, and Pepsi Max just to just get it to that stage is impressive enough to actually then get Travis in the car, create this conversation that we didn't know how that was going to go, to try to set it up, with me saying that I'm an ex-con and just got out of jail with a guy from Jersey and some of that stuff. I mean, that all, just creates the storyline, and you can't make that stuff up. You can plan, you can do certain things, but you can't plan for the unknown, and that's why there was such an adrenaline rush with it, and the fact that I knew I had this guy's safety in my hands. And I put a lot of pride into making sure that it was done safe, and so did Pepsi Max. So I don't know if you'll ever see this done again, I'll be honest, because it was that risky. But we did it, and we can now laugh, and Travis can laugh about it, and we can all enjoy the risk that paid off. Why? I like stepping outside the boundaries. I mean, I think that when it's something like this, that we did the first video, and when you look at all the comments from the first video, I think that it was really the bloggers, the media, the fans. It was everybody really challenging us to go and do this, because of their comments of saying, hey, well, Jeff wasn't driving the car, well, this wasn't real, well, that wasn't real. Well, guess what? Here's the results of that, because we wanted to go out there and show everybody how authentic and real this can be. And so, why would we do that? It's a good question, but I can tell you it was a blast doing it. And I think that the response that it's getting is certainly speaks for itself. But yeah, no, I was questioning that a few times myself, Bob, during it. So I know people are going to question that. But after it was over and we come sliding in, I was like, wow, that was the most incredible thing that I've ever done.
All right, we're going to go to Marty Smith and then back to the front row.
Marty Smith, ESPN. What did you learn about your teammate this week now that he has joined the Twitter?
Well, I think we all knew once he got on it, he'd probably enjoy it, and it looks like he's enjoying it. I mean, I've never seen a guy with a permanent smile on his face like this before, so to see how much it means to him to win that race, to be on top of the sport like he is, and to be just genuinely enjoying it, be comfortable with himself and confident. That's very, very cool. That to me, that's great for the sport. It's great for him, great for Hendrick, and so we've all had smiles on our faces and enjoying this week right along with him. But yeah, seeing him on Twitter is something that a lot of us have been pushing him for. Is that, come on, man, you can do it. And I think winning the Daytona 500 is a great way to get that kick started. So I applaud him in that, and he's done a great job this week.
One quick follow-up about the chase now. Theoretically, he's in.
Yeah.
How does that affect the way that he and Stevie can approach the next 25 weeks?
Yeah, there's no doubt that, this sport is so much about confidence and believing in one another. We've all said one race doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, but boy, with the new point system, it certainly guarantees a lot, and that allows you to just continue to build that confidence and just push the envelope of your setups, your pit strategy, how you're driving, and with the kind of confidence that he has come from last year now off of this race, you would think that will transpire over to the next several races. Now we get to the downforce tracks, and if those guys perform well on these next few tracks, watch out. I think anything's possible.
All right, we're going to come back to the front row right here. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, Jeff, Ryan O'Hara from SpeedwayMedia.com. My question for you is in regards to the new qualifying format. Kevin Harvick mentioned that a lot of drivers are on edge, specifically with the engine. When it comes to that, how do you approach that? Are you going to see some guys maybe take it easy, but push it just enough so they can, make it to the next segment for qualifying?
Well, and that's where I think we're going to have to go through this for a few weeks. And I don't mean just the teams, but NASCAR as well, to try to understand what challenges are coming along. I don't think we should be nosed in to start the qualifying session. I think we should be nosed out. After that, I understand the nose in. The other thing is the cooling. There's safety precautions that they're wanting to take, and that's why we're not cooling the cars and number of people on pit road and all those things. But if we want to keep in mind the longevity and reliability of the engines and keeping it at the highest performance, if we want to go out and make multiple runs, we got to cool those engines down. That's how we make qualifying runs. That's how you got to run the most tape you possibly can on the front of the car. So going out there and making a second run on older tires with less tape is not going to improve your time. So I think that that's something that as we get through, we're all going to be communicating with NASCAR to try to figure out what's going to be the best way for the teams to go out there and get the best lap, as well as keep it as entertaining as possible.
All right, thank you. Also, a follow-up question. You didn't have a top 5 finish in the Daytona 500 since your last victory. How good did it feel to get a top 5 once again back in the Great American Race?
It felt amazing. It seems like not just in the 500, in the 400 as well. It just seems like it's been so long since we've been able to be in position at the end to have a chance at it. And, especially the way that race went down. I mean, it was a crazy race after the rain, stopping the track dry. I mean, it was like a 10-lap shootout. Just every single lap, 3 wide, bump drafting, and the fact that we survived those wrecks and had a strong car and then come out of there with a top 5. I'm still not sure. I haven't seen the video why we're not third, but I'm also still accepting a 4th. That's because of what we've done the last 9 years, by not having not only a top 5, like a top 15. It's been really hard to get our season started with any momentum after coming out of Daytona so far behind. So that's a great way for us to get started. I can just see a difference in the team. The team is really pumped up and excited to go to these next several races and show what we can do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Dustin, Jerry, Mark, and finish with, Dustin, Mark, and then finish with Stan. Just keep in mind we're really close on time with Jeff, so please keep it to minimal questions, please.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. With the forecast for rain most likely tomorrow, so both sessions likely going to get rained out. We've got the new right heights and some of these different changes. What are the challenges coming up in this 90-minute session? Because this looks like this is, other than qualifying, the only track time you're going to have before Sunday.
I agree, and it is just taking what's already a challenging day, trying to get prepared for this new qualifying session and taking it to a whole nother level for all of us, but especially the crew chiefs and engineers, because we're going to try to balance out that track time of preparing for this race. We're going to have to go off of old notes. We always say that, but the ride heights have changed, and a lot of things have changed with the setup. So I'm not sure. I know that there will just be a time when we swap over. It really, in a perfect world, you'd actually want to wait and get as much rubber on the track as possible to get ready for the race. That's why we love Saturday practices. But today, because we have to get ready for qualifying and track position being so important at this track, qualifying is extremely important. So in some ways, it's going to prioritize itself over the race practice or portion of the practice. But not everybody might play it that way, So, and that's what I love about this. It really makes you think about your strategy and how you're going to go about the managing the time that you have. But it's and again, this is how we learn as we go. Because we might find a team does it one way that like we didn't think of it that way. Well, that's really smart. And in the future, we might do it that way.
All right, go ahead, Mark.
Republic. Jeff, with this new qualifying format, how much gamesmanship is allowable? And if there is some allowable, where do you draw the line?
Oh, gamesman. I think that gamesmanship when it comes to qualifying is about one-upping one another with the lap time, not about blocking or doing something that is trying to hurt somebody else's lap. So I don't know if that's what you're meaning from gamesmanship. In my opinion, that's not tolerated at all. But as I clearly read in NASCAR's notes or memo, it looks like we're going to take care of that ourselves. So we'll see how that works. It seems to work pretty good when they allow us to take care of it ourselves. Usually it doesn't happen more than once. But yeah, that is definitely going to be a play here today. Not necessarily people intentionally doing it, people not being able to prevent it. That's my concern. You've got to roll around after you finish your lap. There could be somebody coming behind you, and if you just mosey on around 1 and 2 and through the dog leg and don't get off the track, that's to me a gray area in NASCAR's mind, and not so gray if I'm the guy behind. That person should know well enough to watch his mirrors, work with his spotter or her to get off the track, and allow those cars to get their clean lap. So I don't anticipate somebody playing that offense and defense on this track. Maybe at Talladega, or Daytona, I can see that from a drafting standpoint. But here it should be just about respecting your competitors.
All right, we'll take our final question from Stan.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com, all the way down here, buddy. Did Hendrick Motorsports as a group go to any track whatsoever and go through a qualifying session and practice and see what you all would be faced? Or has everybody just said, we'll wait and see what happens when we get to the track?
Well, it's not like we're just going blind and saying, oh, we'll just wait and see what happens. But no, we can't simulate that because we don't have 43 cars or more at a track to test and go through that. There's a lot of simulation that we've gone into with cooling, and understanding the amount of tape that we can run. We've gone through a lot with this tire at this particular track and when we think it's going to be at its best optimal pressure and temperature. But we can't really control what the other cars are doing. So that's the factor that comes into play that is going to be so interesting, and that we're going to have to just kind of see what happens as we go. That we can't simulate that even at a test. We did not do that, Stan. To answer your question.